Hey, this is Pastor Dave, and this is your Monday Mojo. Hope you had a good weekend, beginning of the Holy Week, right? So I stand here today in the midst of the palms left over from our service yesterday. The palms that were the part of the beginning of this most revolutionary week that this earth has ever experienced. I want to tell you a story about a podcast that I listened to. It's a leadership podcast, and I really benefit greatly from it. It's tremendous, the things that we can get free today. But I was listening last week as the guy who runs the podcast was interviewing a New York Times best-selling author, a recognized professor, a guy who's got recommendations by people like J.J. Abrams and Oprah Winfrey. And I was listening to him, and at first I thought, I got to get this guy's book. And then I really started listening to him, and he's saying, what we're finding out is that character and success are not mutually exclusive, that you don't have to trade in your character to be successful. It's like, yeah, that's right, that's awesome. And then he was also saying that to be a strong leader, you don't have to be this powerful, arrogant person. You could be a servant leader. It's like, yeah, that's really right on. I agree with that 100%. I got to get this guy's book. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute. I learned that 40 years ago. 40 years ago. 40 years ago, I was invited to be a part of the Lilly Endowment Youth Leadership Development Program. At that time, it was headed by H. Dean Evans, a guy who was just fantastic, and I'm incredibly grateful for his leadership. But they selected high school juniors that were about to be seniors, going into our senior year, from around central Indiana. You had to be recommended by a teacher, and I don't even know who recommended me. But they taught us, through taking us to business and industry and places all around Indianapolis, this concept of servant leadership. Servant leadership. I learned it back then, that you can be a servant and not selfish and arrogant as a leader, that character matters. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. And I got to thinking to myself, why is it that, I learned that 40 years ago, why is it that a book that's being written today is being hailed and lauded by people as revolutionary? I'm glad, because it truly is revolutionary. I mean, this week, this Holy Week, it wasn't just about Jesus coming to die for our sins. It was the beginning of a week, at the end of which, on Easter, we celebrate the inauguration of a kingdom, a new way of living, where character and success go hand in hand. Where being a strong leader goes something like this. If you want to be first, be last. If you want to be the greatest, be the greatest servant. That began with Jesus. And I guess I'm a little bit disappointed that we who follow after him have left the world to find that out through studies, and to be all of a sudden enamored with the idea that character and success can go hand in hand. I hope that if you're watching this, and if you're a follower of Jesus, I hope that you and I will take this new revolutionary way of living seriously. Because even though Jesus inaugurated it nearly 2,000 years ago, evidently, it's still rare. Evidently, when people who haven't grown up in the midst of this kingdom teaching discover it, they're like, wow, I can be full of character and successful. And wow, I don't have to be an arrogant SOB to be the leader. I can be a servant. So those of us who follow after this Christ, I hope we'll take it seriously. I thank you to Lilly Endowment, to H. Dean Evans, but I thank you to Jesus Christ, Because where I'm standing right now is the best place for anyone to stand to get the perspective that I'm talking about. Where I'm standing right now and where I've been speaking to you from is right here at the foot of the cross. From there, you can get the best perspective. So let's be revolutionary.